Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cooking Up Social Justice, the show where each week we select an organization that works for social justice to raise money for. I know that many of us are realizing how racism and injustice are still embedded in our society, and it leaves us wondering what we can do about it. For those of you who feel so inclined, I invite you to join or share this weekly fundraising effort to raise money for groups doing the work of creating a more equitable nation. Now, what do I mean when I say social justice? When I say social justice, I'm not talking about the people on social media trying to call you out. I'm talking about the people who are actually doing the work of trying to create a more equitable nation. Social justice can be defined as justice in terms of the distribution of wealth, resources, opportunities, and protections within a society. So the groups that we're raising money for are doing just that. Now, before we get started on selecting our group, I'd just like to talk a little bit about white supremacy. Most of us who think of this term white supremacy associate it with the Ku Klux Klan, lynching, Nazism, and other forms of terrorism. But lately the term is being used more broadly to include things like zoning laws, discrimination in giving out loans, what we are taught in schools, and the founding/development of our country in general. I will admit that first I rejected this broader application, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that we can and should categorize these things as white supremacy. The fact is that white men have been architects and gatekeepers to pathways of enfranchisement. This means that many of us white men, whether we know it or not, have benefited from white supremacy and racism. And that doesn't mean you're racist. It doesn't mean your life was any easier, but it is time to recognize the ways you have benefited historically from racist policies and practices. So what do we do with this knowledge? For those of us who think this is wrong, what can we do to help right this wrong? To lift everyone up and to keep those pathways to enfranchisement open as much as possible for all people. I think we can educate ourselves, we can be aware, we can listen to others tell their stories, we can support protests and other calls to action, and we can also make donations, which is what this show is about. So with that being said, let's figure out what we can cook up this week. Communities in schools. All right, everybody. So here is the website for communitiesinschools.org. You can find it in your web browser at communitiesinschools.org, or you can just Google search communities in schools, and it should be the first thing that comes up. So let's read a little bit about them. Okay. So here they kind of talk about the issues that they like to address, and what I like to focus on here is their solution. Working directly in 2,300 schools in 25 states in the District of Columbia, Communities in Schools builds relationships that empower students to stay in school and succeed in life. Our school-based staffed partner with teachers to identify challenges students face in class or at home and coordinate with community partners to bring outside resources inside schools. From immediate needs like food or clothing to more complex ones like counseling or emotional support, we do whatever it takes to help students succeed. So this to me sounds like a very holistic approach. They're not just focused on academics, they're focused on any deficiencies in the student's life, anything that could be affecting academic performance both inside and outside the school. What I like also about this website is they have stories from different students, such as Donald here, who have been positively impacted by this service. So you can read about those students whose lives have been changed or whose academic performance has been elevated because of this service. You can look at their model for kind of how they work. You know, they have kind of various point system here that allows them to help students succeed. They have some data here. You know, there's a lot of resources that you can see, a lot of empirical data here that you can see. You know, they're very holistically minded, very scientifically minded on doing anything that they can to help a student succeed, as I said, both inside and outside the classroom. There are kind of statistics for how many schools they served, students they served, how many volunteers they brought in. And then also there's different ways to help them besides donating. You could advocate for them. You can sign up for their newsletter to learn more about them, or you can donate to them. So enough about what I have to say about this. Let's hear from a friend of Cooking Up Social Justice.
Schools is the nation's largest organization working directly inside schools, connecting vulnerable kids with needed resources and serving more than 1.6 million students each year. Their trained staffers are moving beyond schools' walls to help the students and their families, delivering meals and household supplies. To join their effort, visit cisnational.org/donate now.
Thanks, Shaq. Great to have you on Cooking Up Social Justice as always. Actually, Communities in Schools has a lot of informative YouTube videos if you just want to go to their YouTube channel. Communities in Schools right here. They have a lot of overviews. They have some more detailed episodes such as this one about supporting students from rural communities, how they create strategic plans, how they form community partnerships, etc. So Communities in Schools, it looks like they have a really good infrastructure, that they do really good work to help kids succeed. And like I said, there's other ways that you can help them besides donating. You can advocate for them. You can donate. They have other, here we go. You can advocate for them. You can volunteer. You can join in. You can join their newsletter, right? All kinds of things. So, as I have been doing every week, I also donated to Communities in Schools. So there's my receipt just to prove that I did it. $50 as I've been doing, which is what I'm comfortable doing every week. Of course, you can do more, you can do less. But what I've been forgetting to ask is that if you do donate, I'd really love for you to share it on Facebook, as I'm going to do now. I'm curious, how many people are joining me in this effort. And I think that, if you can share pictures of, what you had for dinner tonight, or the fact that you went to the beach, you can, share that you donated to a righteous cause such as this. By sharing, you're not really aggrandizing yourself, you're promoting a good deed, and, that generosity is going to beget generosity from others. So, if you donate, don't keep it to yourself. Please share. Be proud of yourself, and encourage others to donate and share as well. Also, as usual, if you don't want to donate, but if you feel like someone who is interested in this weekly effort, please share these videos. The fundraiser for EJI is still active. Last week we did the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. I encourage you to donate to them one more time. Check out our past episodes. Episodes 1 and 2 are still on YouTube for Cooking Up Social Justice. And I think that's all for episode 3. So the link to donating to Communities in Schools will be in the description of this YouTube video. And thanks for your time and attention, everyone. Cheers.